I have this fond memory of my mother showing me how to fold something out of a strip of paper. She was doing it very, very carefully and being very precise with each fold. After a couple of minutes of this very precise folding, she showed me what she'd made, which was a hexahedron. And she did this with no glue, no rulers, no tape, nothing, and it was magical. But it was one of those moments where my whole relationship with paper changed, because all of a sudden, oh, you can use paper to create.
One of my favorite highlights was the origami battle.
Moi, j'ai bien aimé la petite bataille d'origami. J'ai adoré cette séquence.
What we wanted to do when we approached the project is to treat the world of Space Cadet for the film in the way that we would build an environment for a show, a live show, or a stop-motion project. The things that I've built in the past are created out of paper or cardboard or wood, things in small miniature maquettes that are made by hand, that we feel the materials and we feel the textures.
I really love tactile things. I love handmade things. So we looked at different textures and things that would resemble stuff that you could make or build. So we're looking at a lot of paper, looking at wood, looking at things that had some flaws to it, that weren't perfect or smooth, or that didn't emulate exactly what you would see in real life.
We used a lot of different paper references that we then gave to the CG studio to help them build their texture library for the CG artists to use. We wanted to use that soft, tactile feeling, like these sets could have been made by hand. That gives a soft, almost emotional feel to the film. When Lillian and I were working on creating the space for the story, we wanted to keep things simple in the frame, almost like a theatrical piece, set design for theater, where we're focusing on the action. We wanted to try to keep the frame simple and give space to the story.
I think the simplicity helps just draw your focus into Robot and Celeste and the relationships that are being established in the movie.
For the design of the apartment where Robot and Celeste live, this was a very important set for us to design right away, early on in the process, because so many scenes happen here. I built the apartment in a really quick sketch model, and then we could figure out how to shoot and start taking pictures from angles that we thought would work for some of the scenes, and then build information for the CG modelers to start to build out this space in a 3D environment.
And then the spaceship, so you can see the design is still in reference to the original graphic novel, but because so much happens in here, we had to make sure the space could really work.
We were trying to figure out how to make the spaceship work for Celeste to have this space to work in this very small spaceship. And we found the easiest way to do that was to put together this really quick maquette of the spaceship and then figure out then how to shoot it and how to use that to help us complete the design of the space.
We started with a script that was written by Mylène Chollet, which was really beautiful. I would read and come up with little tiny thumbnails of little moments that I thought would happen in the film visually. Eric loves to do everything in person, and I love being at his studio. I spent 2 weeks with him and with Corinne. He handed me all these storyboard templates, like paper ones, and I was like, yeah, let's draw. Let's just get drawing. And so we would draw, we would talk about the different scene that we were reading, and I would just start creating these very loose and rough story thumbnails that would work for that particular scene. It became very clear after a while that we needed more help because there were just so many scenes in a feature film. We brought in John Ing, who was really good at action and this very organic storyboarding process. A lot of action, a lot of fighting. He was so good at visualizing these things in his animatics. We also worked with Howie Shaw, who has this very thoughtful process when it comes to thinking about story and larger themes in the plot. It helped us lay out the primary storyline. At that point, we knew we needed even more help, and so we reached out to Seneca Film Institute, which is the school where I teach, and I pulled in a very small story crew to work with Corinne, Eric, and I on the more detailed storyboards. The great thing about them is that because they have students that work both in 3D and in 2D, we were able to pull in the 3D models that were already being designed by the production team, and then Corinne and I could move the camera around, figure out where we wanted to place the shots, and then bring those to the 2D artist students who would then draw out the pose keys and what we were looking for in terms of the acting. We were able to lock down an animatic that was ready for production.
How important was crafting the motion that was coming from Eric's, the director's, puppet work. He was very, very adamant on conveying the imperfections and nuance of his puppetry and translating it into a CG style. Something that has that stop motion-y feel with imperfections and nuance and that sort of grounded style in the whole final feel of the movie.
Robot sits Celeste down at the dining room table. Celeste's face lights up. She's intrigued. Robot and Celeste get to work as Robot patiently teaches the young girl how to make origami stars. She's instantly enthralled. An origami star seen through Celeste's telescope. Pan out to discover that Celeste and Robot are in the living room under a ceiling covered in origami stars.
We use paper a lot when we're making maquettes because it works so well in the translation of a scale of a real material. We also get that wonderful magical feeling of a maquette or toy theater where people could feel like they could craft this world or that it could be something that they hold in their hand.